No, I'm not a writer.
Okay.
Hey everyone, welcome. Hope you guys are doing well today. I am Bianca. I will be your host of today's live session. I am the owner and artist of Lotus Series Designs and also a brand ambassador for Dixie Belle Paint Company. We are watching on Dixie Belle's Facebook page, my page, Lotus Series Designs on Facebook, as well as YouTube. So when you guys jump on, let us know where you're watching from, say hi, and let's get into it. So, hello everybody. Thank you for saying hi and engaging. Today we're going to be working on a set of nightstands, okay? So I already have this one prepped and we're going to work backwards. We're going to start by adding the transfers to this piece. And I'm just going to lay a few just to kind of give you my vision, show you how to lay the new Dixie Belle bells and whistles transfers. And in this case, I'll be using Magnolia, which is this guy here, or girl, or whatever. Okay, so you can see there's different components that come with this transfer. I'm only gonna be using a few of them to go with the look that I have going here. And then after we lay the transfer, I wanted to switch nightstands because there's two of them, right? So I'm gonna take this down, I'm gonna bring the other one up, and then I'm gonna show you how I created this blend. The whole concept of this blend is to show you a simple way of blending using just a couple of colors and like colors. My thought process with this is like colors tend to be easier to blend because they're very similar. It's a more forgiving blending process, and that's why I chose it for this. So without further ado, I'm gonna get started. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments. I will try to keep my eye out on the comments here, as well as keep it moving here. And Dixie Belle is in the house. Hi, Dixie Belle. Thank you for joining. So Dixie Belle is also here if you're on the Dixie Belle page to answer any questions that you may have, just in case I get a little, distracted and in my zone and don't look and see to answer. So I'm just going to move this in. Okay, so you guys can get the close-up. All right, so I already have a piece cut out, okay? This is one of the cotton bowl components to the transfer, and I have a couple of other pieces here. So my thought was I wanted to do something, again, easy, neutral. My color palette choices lately have been pretty bright and bold, so I felt like I should tone it down a bit and just do something that might be a little bit more neutral, compatible with different themes and decors, etc. So right now I am just getting the transfer off the backing. Okay, and so this one, I feel like I'm going to start up here. And like I said, I'm just going to lay a couple of them just so that you guys get the idea of where I'm going. And I need some scissors. I always forget one thing, you guys, always. I always forget one thing. Never totally have it together, right? And I'm probably going to need an X-Acto knife too, but I'll get that in a sec. Okay, so I am thinking I'm going to go about here. So now that I have it where I think I like it, I'm going to go ahead and just press it down, which will start to adhere it to the piece. All right, so I also am going to need to grab an X-Acto knife here in just a sec. These transfers come with a handy dandy stick. Move this back a little bit so you can get the full view. Okay, so let me just kind of burnish it in there before I let it go to grab an X-Acto knife. And I'll show you why I use said X-Acto knife in just a sec. All right, I think it's on there good enough. Let me grab that knife. If you guys don't have an X-Acto knife, they are wonderful for so many things. I just get mine at the dollar store. All right, so let me just get it burnished on there a little bit further. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this piece here. There you go, so you guys can see it. And again, as you hop on, guys, let us know where you're watching from and say hi. All right, so now that I've got that cut, I'm going to go ahead and get this transfer rubbed on where it's overlapping here. Sometimes I will use my, I have a new setup, guys, so it's going to take me some time to get used to it. I like to keep my thumbnails and pinky nails long for this reason, because it's really nice to get into the grooves here, especially where there are raised edges. So that's what I'm doing here. I'm just using my thumbnail to really get that transfer down and in the groove. And I also have the stick. The stick comes with the transfers, okay? This part right here is kind of tricky. So I'm finding that my thumbnail is working a little bit better. I have also used, you know, those green scrubby pads, or perhaps one of Dixie Belle's finishing pads for these rounded edges here. Those work really nice for putting a transfer onto your piece. So now that it's on there, I'm just going to take my finger and gently press it down, make sure that I don't have any air bubbles. The cool thing about these transfers, you guys, is that they take two rounded corners very well. So with that said, let's go ahead and get this top piece off here. Grab my X-Acto knife. I'm going to do the same thing. All right. Get in there. There we go. Just going to run it along. I'm going to let the blade pretty much do the cutting for me. There we go. So that should help me get that on there. All right. So before you peel back this outer layer, you do want to make sure that it's burnished on there really well. Okay, and I'm going to just gently and slowly pull back as I burnish. As to not rip the design. And again, I can't stress this enough, you guys. Make sure when you're doing this that you don't rush it. This process is not to be rushed, because you don't want to rip the transfer design. Almost there. If you have any questions so far, as soon as I get this off, I'm going to take a look and see if there's anything you have for me. If not, we will keep it moving. There it is. Looks good. So by itself, these brown colors, I'll tell you about the colors in a minute. By themselves, though, you know, it's nice, but brown isn't very exciting. So in my mind, adding these transfers would really help bring a beautiful aesthetic to the brown palette here. Kind of give it a nice identity. So Kelly wants to know what colors are used on this piece. I'm going to get into that in just a second, but I will tell you guys now, pine cone, burlap, and chocolate. And I'm going to blend on the other nightstand in just a moment here. And show you how I achieved this look. So really quick, I'm just going to take my finger, make sure those edges are down. Be careful as you do this. You can also wear like a cotton glove if you like. And I'm just making sure that those edges are down, feeling for any kind of air bubbles. If there were an air bubble, which I don't have any, I almost wish I did so I could show you, but I could take my X-Acto knife and just kind of lance it and then rub it down, and it shouldn't be noticeable. Okay, so I may or may not add these flowers. I think they're pretty. I was feeling like I would get the cotton balls laid down first and then see how I felt. So I'll do one more and then we will move forward. So I'm just kind of cutting it out of the template here. Just make sure there's no questions. So looks like everybody's just saying hi. Hello, everybody. You guys are all over the world. Okay, that's a great question. Mayra wants to know, or Myra, did you seal before? You know, I did. Let me explain this, okay? Because I feel like I need to. Wow, it's a whole lot on my face. Okay. I sealed it before. I'm going to tell you why, though. Normally, I wouldn't. I would allow the paint to dry pretty much overnight, making sure that it is totally dry so that it accepts the transfer. If you do it, if you put the transfer on to wet paint, it's not going to, they're not going to like each other, and you might have some peeling issues. So very important, make sure that your paint is totally dry before adding your transfer. I did seal it, and the reason for that is because I spray when I seal, okay? So I just took it outside really quick and hosed it down with a coat of top coat because I wanted to, on the top here, play with Dixie Belle's wood grain tool, okay? And in order to do that, it's best to lay down a layer of top coat before you do that. We're not doing that today. I actually haven't used that yet, so I'm going to experiment in private with that. But that's the only reason that I sealed beforehand. It was just easier just to go ahead and seal the whole thing. So with that said, that's actually a really good question. You can put these on top of the sealed piece as well as onto raw chalk mineral paint. Good question. What about? I'm sorry, guys. I'm reading these comments. Greg, that's a good, let's see. What about where the drawer meets the solid, unmovable part of the wood? Was there a first part to your question up here somewhere? Rephrase that for me. Help me out. Yeah, Julie. Julie says, I never thought browns would look so pretty. I know, right? Browns are not, they're not, I don't typically use them. So I grabbed pine cone off the shelf and thought, you know what? This color is just underused across the board, by myself included, and thought I would go ahead and challenge myself to use it. And I'm pretty happy with how it has turned out. Yes, Victoria wants to know, so you will seal the transfer once on. I will. Good question. Hi, Carolyn from Mesa. No, good question. Carol wants to know, will the transfer scratch off where you open the drawer? No, because the drawer and the base here, it's not going to touch. If these rubbed, I would have done one of two things. One, I would have not placed my transfer like this if I thought it was going to rub off, just based on that. Oftentimes these older pieces will kind of rub here. Or the other thing is, I tend to, in my prep process, I do a lot of prep and repairs, you guys. When these drawers rub, I will literally take it out to my belt sander. I have one of those big ones, my husband does, and just totally like file this down so that it creates a gap between the frame and the drawer. So just a little trick for you. All right, let me just slap this one here, and then we will move on to the paint process. So same thing, I've got a corner here, and I'm just using my thumbnail right now just to really, really work it in there. A credit card might be nice if you don't want to use your fingernails, or perhaps you keep them short. So a credit card would be nice, something that's able to really get it into that nook. Deborah wants to know, do you have to seal the chalk paint? No, but I would. I seal everything. For me, I guess that just depends on what you're doing. So for me, I sell my work, okay? So I like to feel confident that when people purchase my work, it's going to last, okay? Now, if you're just a hobbyist and you're just painting for yourself, no, you don't have to seal the chalk mineral paint. You don't have to. If you were just doing it for yourself and whatnot, then I'd say that's your decision. It's your decision anyway, but for me, I always seal because I do list my work for retail and sell it. All right, so the same thing. I've worked it into that corner and I'm burnishing it in. And I am really loving these cotton bowls on this brown a lot more than I thought that I would. So this is exciting. Thank you. Oh my gosh, I can't say your name. I don't want to butcher it. Thank you. Jeanette wants to know colors again. So, hey, you know what? You know what I did? Hold on. Wow, that is a whole lot of my face again. There we go. Colors. I forgot I did that. What the color that I did not list that I also used a little bit is chocolate. Okay, I didn't list that because we're not going to go over that today. But that's what you see here in the grooves. That's chocolate. So the glazing effect is done in paint as well. But for the sake of our tutorial, I'm just going to show you, as soon as I get this one on here, how I blended the three colors. Almost done. So I did a live, I don't know, a few weeks ago, demonstrating the transfers. And one of the things that I said, and I'm going to note again, okay, is when I get to the final edge here, okay, it is very easy to just end up ripping it off. So I'm going to take my time, okay, I'm going to hold this outer sheet steady. Because I don't want it to slip and rip my transfer. Okay, so now that I've done that, there it is. Okay, so again, just take my finger, make sure there's no air bubbles. Looks good to me. Okay, so what do you guys think so far? I think it looks good. I am going to swap the nightstands. Okay, so then we're gonna, like I said, we're gonna end up doing this backwards. And the reason being was because once I paint the other piece that's down here waiting in queue, I'm not gonna be able to move it because it'll be wet. So we're working backwards here. But one last glance at this piece. And that's the before. I'm gonna let you look at that for a second while I swap them, because me moving furniture is not pretty. And these things are heavy. Oh my goodness. Ugh. They're not antique, they're a reproduction. So they tend to be on the heavier side. All right. So that's the before. You see my magic trick? Ah. All right. So let's work on the paint process, okay? Make sure I can see your comments. I do have the Brittany. Oh, that's a great trick for life. You like that, huh? Hi, Linda. Linda's watching from Tampa on YouTube. Thank you for joining us. So let me just get these open. I'm going to start with the two colors of burlap and pine cone. I'll show you those in just a sec. All right. So burlap and pine cone. Okay. I've just ordered, Liz says, I've just ordered 10 Dixie Belle colors today. Typical, I didn't order those. Yes, that's totally an excuse to order more. Absolutely. Do that. Also, actually, links to the description are, or I'm sorry, links to the products are up in the description or down if you're watching on YouTube. So if you want to say thank you or show me a little bit of love, use those links. I do get a little bit of a kickback. Okay, so I'm ready to go. I have a Dixie Belle synthetic mini brush. I have a wet shop towel, clean, ready to go. I'll show you why I have that, okay? I have Dixie Belle's Best Dang, here we go, Best Dang brush. Okay, I'm gonna use that for my blending. Okay, and literally that other nightstand did not take me long, so let's jam through this. Got a plate, keep my brushes on, and I'm gonna start with, I already have 2 coats of pine cone laid down here, okay? I usually, everybody blends differently as far as us ambassadors go. I like to get a base coat laid down so that all I'm blending for the most part is my top layer, okay? So I'm gonna start with adding more pine cone. And I see that I have questions. So let me just get this started and then I'm gonna come back. Hi, Stacy. And Stacy Davis just bought that brush. Very cool. It makes blending a whole lot easier. Okay, so I'm just slapping some pine cone down on the edges here, really just to get it wet. Jeanette loves the brush as well. Yes, Ashley, my base coat is pine cone. Next up, we have burlap. Okay, I'm gonna keep it moving here. And my burlap is actually a little bit thicker, okay, because I probably left the lid off. Let me keep this paint wet. We're blending, okay? So I'm just gonna slap some burlap on there. I'm gonna keep it wet. Like I said, it's a little bit thicker in the jar. Oops, on my part, probably left the lid off. I do that all the time, okay? So, all done. What do you think? Just kidding. All right. Best Dang brush, okay? Here we go. I am just swirling those edges to blend those seams in. And I'm about to introduce that shop rag I'm going to wipe the excess off onto the rag here, okay? And again, keep your paint wet. So if it starts to get dry for this particular style of blending, keep it wet, spritz it down. Dixie Belle sells these. They're Mr. bottles. I like to use a Mr. bottle more so than a spray bottle because the output is finer, okay? You don't get those big drips. So 2 colors. Again, I said like colors, L-I-K-E. I said that in the beginning of the live. Reason for this, because we're doing a simple blend today, okay? I'm just gonna go over a couple of the edges here where I feel like it needs it, and that pretty much looks good to me, okay? Once that dries, I'm gonna show you what I did on the other one to kind of deepen it a little bit, and I used chocolate for that, but this needs to dry a bit. So I'm gonna move on to the top drawer. Let's see if I have any questions. Stacy wants to know, do you have to swirl it? No, it just depends on the kind of look that you're going for. I swirl a lot because I like the cloudier blend versus more of the, I guess, linear type blend. You don't have to swirl it. Totally up to you. So let's jump back up to the top here. Cheryl, the colors are listed right on the bottom there in the ticker. This is pine cone, okay? I'm gonna do the same process up here. So I'm gonna focus on these drawers, just focusing on the edge of the drawer, okay? I'm using a Dixie Belle Synthetic Mini. Let's put a little bit more there. A little dry there, yep. Okay, then I'm gonna come back. I'm gonna hit it with some burlap in the center. Again, my burlap is a little bit thicker in the jar. So let me keep this wet, okay? A little bit of water goes a long way. Maybe I went just a little thick on the paint here. Let me just blend it in a little bit. All right, okay. Best staying brush, and I'm just gonna start blending. I'll do that by swirling. Get the excess off onto my rag here. I'm gonna keep it wet. It's starting to dry up on me a little bit. I'm in Arizona, so it's getting warmer. Got my squeaky table out. Let's see if I can quiet it. There we go. Yes, I am going over the edges. I'm not worried about it. Like I said, I'm going to come in and I'm going to introduce chocolate to the mix. So let me stand back. I'm getting some glare. See how that looks. A little bit more. So the fatness of this brush really helps to get this job done a lot faster than if I were using a smaller brush. So let me just kind of come in and hit some of these edges a little bit. I can live with that. Okay, so this part needs to dry. Let me see if I can just move forward. Well, here, let's let it sit for a sec. Let me take a sec to see if there's any questions. Oh, thank you, Brittany. Brittany likes my style of blending. Yes, Liz, exactly. The colors are both feminine and masculine. Yeah, I tend to often, I will try to do, again, because I do sell my work, I will try to do his and her friendly style pieces here and there. And I felt that this qualifies. So that's a good question. Carol wants to know, if you don't own the best dang brush yet, what could you use for blending? You could use the mini. Okay, it's just, the shape of it is going to make it a little bit more complicated. You can also use, if you have perhaps an oval medium. There we go. Okay, so say that you have Dixie Belle's oval medium brush. That would be a good one. This is pretty much what I use for any kind of swirl blending techniques prior to having the best dang brush. It also works very well, but this one is substantially bigger, so. Yeah, Liz, do you ever struggle to get one drawer the same as the other? Yeah, especially when I was new at blending, I would be such a perfectionist, to the point of just absolute insanity and frustration. Now I don't really care. I just let it be what it wants to be. And it has lightened my load. It's brought joy back into my process, just to, I guess, relax a bit and not be so rigid in perfection. If anything, this art has taught me to just chill. Hardware, I'm not sure, Jeanette. That's a really good question. I can show you guys the hardware. This is the original hardware, okay? But I don't think that I love the gold. It's just kind of brassy, not a good gold. So I'm not sure what color I'm going to do. I know that whatever I do is not going to be as brassy as this. So I don't know if you guys can see what I'm referring to as far as the brassiness. So good questions. Yep. Have fun, Carol. Have at it. Okay. Oh, yay. We have Kay's about to do her first piece. Very cool. Love it. Okay. I think this is dry enough. If not, oh well. Okay. I'm going to show you how I used the chocolate on the other piece, and then we'll be done. So I'm actually just going to use my same pine cone brush. Right now, I'm just getting some of the excess off of it. And I can actually do that into the towel as well. Okay. So I'm going to grab chocolate. It is, Drusilla says, beautiful hardware though. It is. I just don't like the brassiness of it. But it is pretty, so I opted to keep it. All right, so chocolate, this is very thick. I really need to stop leaving my paint lids off. This is chocolate though. Let's see, where are we? Here we go. Chocolate. It's very similar. So remember, I said like colors, okay? There we go. Like colors. So they're very similar, easy to blend. If you're new to blending, this is definitely a nice starting point, nice little jumping off point for you to pick colors that are similar. Maybe, there's a darker shade and the shade that's just, one step brighter. They're going to blend a lot easier for you. So I used the chocolate color more to, I guess, just deepen it, give it some highlights or lowlights, whatever that would be. Okay, and show you how I did that. So I'm just putting a little bit, I suppose I should show you, onto, actually, let me put a lot of it. I'll show you what I do with the excess. And that way I already have it somewhere handy, okay? So I'm just going to put it, here we go. Put that excess onto my plate here, okay? I'll come back to it in just a sec. All right, so keep your water bottle with you. And I'm just going to start blending it in. The paint's a little bit wet, so I'm trying to be gentle. Okay, I'm going to use water. Okay, keep it wet. And back to that brush, okay? So back to my best dang brush. And I could even, if I wanted to, there we go, spritz the brush itself. And using that same swirling motion, I just blend in that chocolate. Now I'm having a little bit of issues because I wasn't patient. I should have let it dry, or should have grabbed a heat gun to let that base dry a little bit more, but I didn't. So we're just going to go with it. Okay. So let me, you know what would help? Let me grab the other. There we go. Okay. So let me show you what we're trying to achieve here. All right. So you can see, because my paint was a little bit wet down there, so it was pulling a little bit. Let me let it chill for a second more. But you can see where I used the chocolate. So see that it's a little bit brighter here. The contrast is a bit more vivid here, where I used the burlap and the pine cone. I kind of muted it a bit by adding the chocolate. And so you can see how it mutes everything just a little bit and kind of makes it a little bit smoother. All right, get that set down. Thank you, Valerie. Let's see, Liz, how do you deal with hardware, say on a jewelry armoire, when you cannot remove it as the material? Oh gosh, I can't stand that. So I have actually taken those X-Acto knives and cut around that in the past. Honestly, you could just paint the hardware. Clean everything very well as you would a piece of furniture, and maybe put some slick stick. So Dixie Belle offers slick stick. It helps to, especially for cases of like metal, glass, etc. It'll help your paint to stick to it more and just paint right over it. Oh no, Colleen. Colleen's sick with COVID. Get well soon, Colleen. Yeah, I felt, here, I'll share with you guys. I totally had it. I had the COVID. And yeah, I was so frustrated that I couldn't paint. It was just like, it wasn't that I felt so terrible so much as the fatigue. I just couldn't muster up the energy to do it. So when I did come back, I came back so fierce. So I anticipate that happening for you as well. Yeah, good question. It is the Magnolia. Oh, Dixie Belle already answered that. But just to recap, I am using Magnolia Garden Transfer. All right, a little bit more, then we're going to be done here. So let me just load my brush back up again. A little bit of chocolate. And we start on this side. I'm probably going to end up fixing that a bit because, again, my bad. I didn't let it dry long enough. Okay, so I'm just slapping some chocolate over on this side. Keep it wet, keep it wet. Okay. Best dang brush, just blend it in. Yeah, this side's taking a little bit better because I let it dry a little bit longer. So again, go ahead and spritz your brush if you want, or you can spritz the canvas, just depends. Okay, that side came out better. So I'll patch this side up a little bit off camera. Again, it should have looked like this, but I did it too soon. That's okay. You can see where it starts to just kind of deepen over on this side. I can bring the camera in. So, oops. Here. Come on, camera. Right here. Okay. Okay, so let me see. We're done. I'm just going to see if there's any pressing questions. Hang out with you guys for just a minute longer and show you the drawer one more time. Let me just, if you're jumping on late, this is what we were striving for. Okay, so that's what it's going to look like when it's all said and done. Set that down so it doesn't topple over. All right, hit me. Questions. Hello, Narita Alvarez, watching from YouTube from Monterrey, Mexico. Hi. Okay, it's me again. What colors would you blend with tea rose? Depends on what I was going for. If I wanted to step down, tea rose, maybe a nice step down would be pink champagne or something in the white family. What colors did I use? I have a mix. Let me see if I can find it. I love this color. So this is, I believe, oh my gosh, I really need to label my stuff. Hold on. Yep, I don't have it labeled. Okay. Anyway, I'm pretty sure this is like burlap and muscadine wine. Okay, I just put it in an old ice cream jar. Look at this color. So that would be a nice one to blend with tea rose. I just mixed two colors, equal parts together, of muscadine wine. And I'm pretty sure burlap or sandbar. I'm not really sure. I'd have to look at one of my old posts and remind. That's the nice thing about those posts. When we post things, we put the colors, remind myself what I did. But something like that would be cool as well. Custom colors. Okay. Good question. Ashley says, how do you fix that side without redoing the whole drawer? I may end up doing the whole drawer. I may not. That's the cool thing about doing the chocolate overlay here, is that I may be able to mask it with the chocolate, but I may just end up hitting it a little bit with the burlap here, the lighter color, a little bit of pine cone, seeing if I can blend it. If I do end up doing the whole drawer again, I do. Luckily, it's just a drawer, so I would do it now, but again, I just don't want to mess with it, you guys. I did it too soon, so that was my fault. Okay, so if you guys have any further questions, or perhaps you're watching on the replay, drop them in the comments. Especially if you're watching from my page, it is super easy to get back and answer any questions, whether it be on my Facebook page or my YouTube page. If you're watching from Dixie Belle, I do come back and try to check at least once. But if you really need the answer and you just don't want to risk it, come see me on my page and I'll be happy to answer it for you, just because I get the notifications. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I will be back. Yes, Lucia wants to know, do you blend the sides? I do, except I just blended chocolate. So that same process that I did here, I did on the sides with the chocolate. So really the only highlighted area is the front. I would show you, but it's just much too heavy for me to pick up. That's pretty much it, guys. I will be back in 2 weeks. So whatever date that is, 29th-ish, Thursday, 3 o'clock Eastern. And I will be back here on the Dixie Belle page, my page on Facebook, Lotus Theory Designs, as well as YouTube. If you want to order any of these products, please use the links in the description. Those are my links. I do get a credit when you place your order using those links. And thank you guys very much. I will see you in 2 weeks. Bye.